Well, I like to win, if that's okay. I would tell people I was doing semiconductors, and they would say, what? Like, what's that? Like, you build chips? Like, what does that mean? Like, now, everybody knows. Like, everybody talks about chips. Then was our clean sheet design to, really design the next generation architectures for the next decade.
For years, the AI world has been ruled by one company. Nvidia wasn't just ahead. They were untouchable. Tech giants, researchers, and startups all flocked to Jensen Huang, while AMD and Lisa Su were treated like a footnote. AMD made GPUs, yes, but in AI, they were never considered a real competitor. That was the reality. Until now. Because something just happened. Something nobody saw coming. OpenAI, the biggest name in artificial intelligence, just signed a massive deal. Not with Nvidia, but with AMD. And that single move may have just flipped the AI war on its head. But to understand how shocking this is, we have to understand why AMD was so far behind. Both AMD and Nvidia made GPUs, so why did the entire AI industry crown Nvidia the king while leaving AMD behind? In Q2 of 2025, Nvidia's market share hit an unbelievable 94%. AMD sat at just 6%. Even worse, Nvidia's share was increasing. AMD's was dropping. The gap wasn't closing, it was expanding. The reason for this domination can be summed up in one word: CUDA. CUDA, Nvidia's programming architecture, became the foundation of modern AI. While AMD had good hardware, they didn't have anything like CUDA. Nvidia launched CUDA back in 2007. And because they launched it early, supported it consistently, and integrated it deeply in research, it became the default. Engineers learned CUDA. Universities taught CUDA. Companies built their systems around CUDA. Nvidia didn't just build hardware. They built an entire ecosystem. And that turned into an unbreakable moat. Meanwhile, AMD was fighting a completely different battle. While Nvidia was looking far into the future and investing in AI long before anyone else saw what was coming, AMD was focused on competing with Intel and dominating console graphics. Nvidia's vision wasn't about gaming or consumer GPUs anymore. They were preparing for the AI revolution years before ChatGPT or any large language models even existed. Back in 2016, Nvidia publicly declared that deep learning breakthroughs would reshape the entire tech industry. And they started building hardware specifically for AI workloads, long before anyone else took it seriously. So when the AI boom hit, researchers didn't just need GPUs, they needed Nvidia GPUs. And even though AMD saw its own revenues rise from $9.7 billion in 2020 to $23 billion in 2022, it couldn't sustain it. Profits collapsed from $3.7 billion down to $1.2 billion, then further down to just $600 million. Researchers realized AMD wasn't the answer. Nvidia was just too far ahead, in hardware and in software. AMD wasn't even in the race anymore. Desperate to catch up, AMD made a massive move in 2022, the $49 billion acquisition of Xilinx. It was the biggest chip deal in history. But because it was paid through stock, AMD shareholders felt the hit immediately. Confidence dropped. The stock tumbled from $143 to $84. And AMD wasn't done spending. They later acquired Nod.ai, an AI optimization company trying to expand their software ecosystem. They were pouring billions into AI, but they still couldn't catch Nvidia. Investors didn't believe in them. Analysts doubted them. And by early 2025, it looked like AMD was losing even more ground.
An analyst day yesterday, it's the first time in 3 years. The chipmaker says that revenue growth will expand 35% a year over the next 3 to 5 years. The company's AI data center is expected to grow at 80% a year and potentially hit tens of billions of dollars in sales by 2027. AMD's stock up phenomenally. You can see since she took over, 589%.
It's always nice to sometimes take a step back from just what's happening on a quarterly basis to really talk about long-term strategy. It's been, as you said, it's been 3 years since we've hosted an Analyst Day. But what we thought is, there's been so much that's changed in the market just over the last 12, 18, 24 months. So just take a step back and talk about the company as a whole. And frankly, we're in just an amazing cycle for technology around AI. So back to the major points. The market is accelerating at a pace that we just did not understand. We started a couple of years ago. We thought the AI accelerator TAM might be $300 billion, and that sounded like a really big number. Here we took it up, and now when we take a step back, we see this massive opportunity. Really over $1 trillion overall market as we get through 2030. Everybody needs technology. Think about it as computing as equating to intelligence, and if you can get more intelligence, why wouldn't you want more computing? From that standpoint, we're really excited about what we have. It's a product portfolio, it's a set of partnerships, but it's also a vision for where computing is going in the future. We spend a lot of time in the ecosystem, and being in this industry for as long as I've been in this industry, over 30 years, I think you see a lot of cycles, a lot of technologies take off. The key is what people are saying as they're actually utilizing the technologies. We work with all of the largest hyperscalers in the world, all of the largest enterprises. And if you looked at sort of the AI trajectory over the last couple of years, tremendous excitement. ChatGPT came on board. Everyone was like, wow, this is pretty good. And then enterprises started using it. And early enterprise usage was a little bit slow. People were kind of just trying to figure out what to do. But if I tell you what we've seen in the last 12 months, one of our largest customers say, we can see the inflection point now, Lisa. We can see demand is accelerating. We're now starting to get real productivity out of the AI use cases. And we have all of the largest hyperscalers in the world. So it is something that we always are looking for the signals in the market, but the signals in the market right now say that we're still at the very beginning of the technology. I think it's the right gamble, and the way I would say it, Aaron, is we can also definitely see that more computing, the pointers to more productivity and more capability. Now, exactly timing of ROI, right. If you're talking about, is it, and so I think that's where it becomes a little fuzzier. But I would say that, look, our largest customers are extremely disciplined companies, balance sheets to invest, and this idea...
I'll give you an example. The one that everybody talks about is OpenAI.
Yeah.
So OpenAI in 2028 is expecting to lose...
Again, Aaron, I would take a step back and say, when you look at the entirety of what the AI, sort of technology, the largest hyperscalers, you have, I call it the AI native leaders like OpenAI, Anthropic, others. And what the underlying foundation is the same. Relative to your comment about OpenAI, I think OpenAI is a phenomenal company.
I love the business. I love what they're trying to do. I'm trying to understand the math.
Let's start with the vision, and look at the math. The vision will say you need more computing. That today, computing is a limiting factor in how much people can adopt that in a number of different places. And so, yes, you have to invest ahead of the curve so that you can get the entire user base on there. Take a look at the growth in users, and not just at OpenAI, but across the entire AI ecosystem. We're seeing that growth because there is true productivity coming at the other end of it. And from that standpoint, I think we are all, like I said, we're disciplined business people, an incredible opportunity in front of us. And absolutely, if one has the capability to address that with a fantastic balance sheet, you would absolutely do that.
For AI data centers, you are scaling pretty rapidly. You see the growth there in terms of revenue being greater than 80% and potentially getting to have more than a 10% market share in that business over the next few years through Nvidia, because by some estimates, they have more than 90% of the market share right now. What's your plan for doing that?
This is an amazing market with tremendous growth. And whenever you have a market that is, let's call it, early in the cycle and also on a steep growth curve, and it favors partnership. From our standpoint, technology roadmap, we're super excited about the new products that we're bringing out. Our MI350 series currently in production. We have a big step up with new rack scale architectures coming next year. Is a really strong set of partnerships. Aaron mentioned OpenAI, we have partnerships with Oracle, Meta, all of the large hyperscalers. And Becky, is that everybody wants to have sort of multiple solutions, and frankly, there's no one solution that fits all. Workloads, you're going to want to have the best technology for each one, and we do believe we will have a significant piece of this market between large hyperscalers, enterprises, as well as sovereign nation states that are out there building large data center. They are an excellent option, and we've talked about some of the key partnerships to do that.
But then came AMD's first real swing, the Instinct MI300 series. GPUs built specifically for AI, and surprisingly, AMD hit hard. The MI300X had memory bandwidth of 5.3 terabytes per second. That's 60% more than Nvidia's H100. It even had 40% lower latency in LLM workloads. And at large batch sizes, the scale companies like OpenAI need, AMD's cost per token was lower. For the first time in years, AMD didn't just catch up. They were beating Nvidia in some key areas. Companies like Microsoft, Dell, and Meta signed on to use the MI300 series. Expectations skyrocketed, but the excitement didn't last. Analysts predicted $8 billion in MI300 revenue. Then it dropped to $5 billion. And the final number for all Instinct revenue in 2024? Just $5 billion. Not even close to what the industry hoped for. Analysts began saying AMD's roadmap wasn't competitive enough. ROCm, AMD's software platform, was powerful and flexible, but nowhere near as polished or easy as CUDA. Developers hesitated, companies hesitated, and once again, AMD fell behind. But here's where everything changes. Because while everyone focused on benchmarks, performance charts, and revenue projections, they missed the biggest factor in the entire AI hardware war: supply. Nvidia owned 94% of the market. That meant shortages, long wait times, and customers who were completely dependent on one company. Even Jensen Huang indirectly hinted at these issues. The entire AI world was built on Nvidia, and that level of dependency brought serious risk. In late 2024, Vultr became one of the first major cloud platforms to offer AMD's MI300X to the public. Suddenly, developers could actually test AMD hardware, something they never had easy access to before. And this was just the beginning. Because on June 12, 2025, at AMD's Advancing AI event, AMD announced something huge: the MI350 series and early details about the MI400 and MI450 generation. But here's the shocker: they weren't designing it alone. OpenAI was helping them build it. The world's most influential AI company was directly helping shape AMD's next generation of GPUs. And then, just months later, came the announcement that flipped the AI war. OpenAI's next-generation infrastructure, the backbone of their future models, would run on AMD Instinct GPUs, starting with the MI450 series in 2026 and expanding far beyond that. And then the real bombshell: this deal could reach as high as $100 billion. $100 billion. Investors were stunned. The industry was stunned. Even Nvidia's CEO Jensen Huang commented on the deal, saying he was surprised AMD would give away 10% of the company before they even built the product. Because part of the deal includes AMD giving OpenAI warrants for up to 160 million shares, nearly 10% of the company, if certain deployment milestones are met.
At AMD's Advancing AI event in San Jose, California, where AMD just unveiled a slate of new AI hardware, software, and systems designed to compete with Nvidia.
First of all, it's been a big day for AMD, really exciting. I love talking about our new products, you know that. So we just recently announced this is our newest AI chip, and it is fantastic. It's the best inference accelerator out there in the market in AI today. We're just seeing so many more use cases, John. Like, people are using AI everywhere. And so one of the most important things for our customers is from their chips. So when you think about tokens per dollar, that's kind of the metric that is used. And this chip will give you 40% more tokens to offer AI at a much more affordable price across the world. So yes, very exciting. We also previewed our 2026 lineup of new accelerators, and we're not just doing chips, but we're doing big rack scale systems. And so all of that was part of our announcements today.
How the innovations will translate into share gains versus the likes of Nvidia. So why is it beyond chips now? And why is it about racks? That was a big part of the ZT system.
Really excited about the momentum that we're seeing in the AI market these days. If you look today, 7 out of the top 10, model builders and AI company AMD products, that includes Meta, Oracle, OpenAI. Sam Altman was here with us today. Meta and Oracle were here. XAI. When you think about, what they need, what they really want is the latest generation hardware that gets into the data center and then gets into serving production workloads, putting a significant amount of investment into the software layer to make it just super easy to use. And we're also building rack scale solutions. The acquisition, we've added 1,000 design engineers, and the whole purpose is so that we can help our customers get to the market with our AI solutions as fast as physically possible.
Big cloud providers who are also now big AI providers, AWS, Azure, Google, they've got their homegrown AI chips that they're trying to use, keep their costs lower, their margins higher. How do you play to both ends of that and win?
Think about it. I view we're still in the very early innings of AI. And frankly, as much as we've seen a ramp up in AI, sort of said that the market is going to grow over 60% annually for the next number of years to over $500 billion in 2028. In that market, what people want is the most flexible and the most programmable architectures out there, and that's really what we're building. And the key point, even deep co-development with our partners. So hardware, software, systems coming together, making sure that we have the right compute for the right application. If you look at just how much improvement, I can just give you some stats, right? If you look at the solution that we're just talking about, the MI355, hold it up high, yes. I want to make sure everyone gets to see my new baby here. We're very happy that it is now out in production. This is like 3 times the performance of just what you saw last year. So that's just how much value you're getting. And we previewed a 400 series, and there we're going to see like 10x, types of improvements. So that's how much we can get from the hardware and working closely with our partner. Open is the foundation of what we do at AMD. I'm a real believer in the fact that an open ecosystem, thousands of developers here today, they're playing with our hardware, they're learning our software, and we want all of them, our stuff, so that we get the benefit of all of that innovation, and they get the benefit of bringing their best ideas in.
It's bold, it's risky, and it shocked the entire industry. AMD's stock soared over 70% in days. This wasn't just a partnership, it was a statement. OpenAI was signaling to the entire world that AMD wasn't just catching up, they were becoming a real competitor. They saw AMD's potential, they saw the improvements, they saw the roadmap, and they believed in the silicon they were helping design. But the war isn't over. Because while AMD's hardware is finally competitive, software remains their Achilles heel. ROCm must evolve. It must scale. It must be reliable enough to support an entire generation of AI models. And it must do it before this massive OpenAI deal begins rolling out. If they can close the software gap, AMD might actually challenge Nvidia's dominance. If they fail, the consequences could be brutal. The AI war has officially flipped. Nvidia's monopoly is no longer guaranteed. AMD isn't just in the race. They're taking swings big enough to shake the entire industry. And with OpenAI backing them, the world is watching. Only time will tell if AMD's bet pays off. But one thing is certain. NVIDIA has never faced a threat this big.
It's a phone call you get from your chairman of the board, and he said, "Lisa, can you talk?" I'm like, "Sure." And he goes, "It's time." He said, the board has made a decision, and they would like you to be the next CEO. The opportunity to be CEO of AMD was truly like a dream come true. It's like, wow, okay. And here you're going to have the opportunity to lead a major semiconductor company on, yes, you're right, it wasn't the best time. I was pretty confident that we had the right pieces. They just needed to be put together in the right. Really design the next generation architecture in CPUs for the next decade. And then we went through a period of just tremendous growth around the portfolio, and now we're in the AI world.